Okay, welcome back. We've since been joined in the studio by another security expert, Dr. Ona Ekomo. Good to have you here this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Okay, so you were saying something earlier about pettiness of politics. If we have to achieve anything, we need to address that.
No, before that, he said to me about 18 to 25% success using the military. Might.
Yes.
So pick it up from
what are the other options?
Now, you see, the military option is like using a meat cleaver. But there are times when you need the scalpel of a surgeon to solve a problem. Now, a lot of what we're going to use to neutralize terrorism is strategic thinking, the greater part of it. And the interesting thing about this is that terrorism itself is waged by a hydra. So your strategic thought also has to be multifaceted, and it has to be on point. Now look at where we are at in Nigeria, which is soft targets. What is the idea of soft targets? By the time you kill children, you bomb marketplaces, go to universities and do all that, what you tend to do is that you are weakening the morale of the citizens. What you're doing is that you are weakening the nation. You know where you are going, but the nation may not know where you are going. So for every time this happens, the way you report it, the way you handle it, they are watching, and then they're making more progress. Now, the interesting thing about this whole thing is this. Look at the Oxford Circus response. It was not denial. Rather, it was an assurance to every citizen that your life has value. I was saying to you that I remember warning the former president in 2012, in August, that look, you are a wartime president. Now, the president on the seat right now is going to face the same challenge. He will either sit up to the stature where he can handle this thing, or again, history will not be kind to him. More so when we are determining the future of Nigeria, the way we handle terrorism in the days ahead. Now, what does he have to take note of? Number one, we have said to you what we are calling terrorism today predates Nigeria. Let's put it all together, the Boko Haram, the Fulani headsman. In 1821, Samuel Ajayi Crowther was captured by Fulani headsmen. So there is nothing new. The narrative behind these things are a mixture of both an ancient narrative and a global resurgence in recent times. So what must we do? What must a person like the president do? Number one, the Western world is at a disadvantage because they have created such a divide between state and faith. And those are the gaps that global terrorism is exploiting. Global terrorism just uses religion as a cover. If Nigeria wants to survive and we want our children to have a future, we need to blow the religious cover of global terrorism. I advised at least 3 generations of CAN presidents in this area, conflict resolution. And we were the first respondents to global terrorism in Nigeria. Initially, it was Christians and churches that were first being targeted. And I remember advising the Christian leadership then that please don't take our defense based on religion. And they asked me why. And I said, look, in the days ahead, these same people are going to be killing Muslims. And shortly after that, we began to see the bombing of mosques. Now, this tells you that what you are dealing with here is not really religious, but wears a cloak of religion. Unfortunately for Nigeria, prior to independence, the demonization of the South was based on religion. So the structural flaw that is being exploited in Nigeria is this. Religious sentiments have to be shut down quickly with exemplary leadership. The northernization agenda of Yor was based on religion. Now, because of that, you have put unnecessary pressure on the average Muslim who may now feel he's betraying the faith when he's associated with things like Boko Haram. In Kano some years ago, remember the man, the Muslim who refused to allow his car to be used for a suicide bombing? The country didn't reward him. They didn't do anything to his family. They did not point out that these are the true patriots that the country needs. So we've had to talk to leadership of religion on both sides that, look, we need to be very wise. The mosque is under pressure. So I'm going to tell you a point-blank truth right now. In terms of religion, in the new order coming ahead, because it is obvious to the Western world right now that their separation of state and religion has created gaps and flaws. In the new life that is ahead of the globe, Africa will help to establish the fact that there must be a synergy between faith and governance.
Okay, let's leave it there first. We'll still come back to the pettiness of politics, but let me ask Mr. Ekhomo. He's talked a lot about Boko Haram, but we have on our hands issues of the herdsmen and the farmers. In Benue, you find pictures that you can't even see, we can't show on air. How do we address this before it becomes something that we can handle no more?
Well, I think I'm just going to take a cue from Pastor Ladi here and say that we have to address it using critical thinking. I think, let me borrow, he says strategic thinking, I'm going to add critical thinking. And what do I mean by critical thinking? I think we have to look at, do what I call muscular reasoning to gain new decision variables, to generate new ideas about the problems that we have, because these problems seem to be persistent, they are not going away, and so on and so forth. So these kinds of what we call ill-structured problems, messy problems, they do not lend themselves to easy means-end answers like we tend to do, or even lend themselves to denial like we have most of the times. When a society has serious problems, then it's time to put on serious thinking caps such that you can come up with serious solutions to these serious problems. I'm sorry to sound repetitive, but that's really what it is. So what do I mean? For example, we want to see more of not intuitive thinking like we tend to do. Everybody falls back on, like you said, religion as an excuse, or northernization or southnization, whatever, or even
marginalization.
Marginalization. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Even now, a new buzzword, hate speech, and all that. So those are intuitive thinking. You just kind of just go what worked yesterday for the other guys, and then you put it there because you want to beg the question. You don't want to use your faculties. So let's help them with what they need to do. First you need to get, like what you people are doing now, first we need to create awareness, talk about the problems. We need to get into policy circles, proper structured brainstorming, so that we can generate new ideas about how to solve these problems. Now, if we are not able to get into the same room, okay, let's do virtual brainstorming. Let's get policy experts around the country. We know what the issues are. Ghana has spoken about this. So many experts have spoken about this. Pastor Ladi here has spoken about this problem, severally. So we need to get that platform. We need to get into a room, a policy room, where we'll do NGT, nominal group thinking, that's round robin. So there are ways to generate ideas. We need to do starburst.
Are we saying we're not generating those ideas right now?
I'm afraid what I see in the policy space, what I see particularly in the media on your channel, is a lot of normative thinking. I don't see new, bright ideas, powerful ideas that can move this thing. So you ask me what is the way to solve the problem. I'm just giving a means of solving it. I'm not giving you the solution to the problem, but how the ideas that will solve, because the solutions are there. Sorry, sir.
No. The question I want to ask is, you said what you've seen so far is nominal thinking. Is it possible? Normative thinking.
Yeah, you just fall back to
Is it possible that those thinking are actually like not wanting to open it up so that the enemy does not steal their idea and use it against?
Well, but people are dying. The society is being destroyed. The economy is being destroyed. People are dying. So we need to solve the problem. We really need to solve these problems. It's not about begging the problem. We need to solve the problem. I don't want to get you.